everybody in here's found the Blackboard page for this class, right? So I do like to do everything actually Blackboard assisted, just because it gives us a place you can store everything. I don't like to print anything. In fact, due to some weird politics, I didn't even have a printer I could print to until I just brought my own in my office. So I don't print a lot of stuff. I try to avoid printing if we can. Now, how do we deal with life? Well, we're going to start looking at it. So Blackboard, I'm going to go through part of the syllabus, and I've already caught about 37. I don't know what I was doing when I finished this and uploaded it. I think what I actually uploaded was one of my proof files when I looked at it, so I'll re-change that a little bit. Because there's a lot of weird typos that I make when I'm typing, but I usually go back and correct. So I think I did a very bad job of versioning when I created that and I uploaded it, so my apologies. So if you find any of those, there are no bonus points for that. Just remember that I can't type very well. Is that the right one? No, that is 300. Let me re-download it real quick. Open. Sesame. So, obviously, you know a little bit about me, and I'll tell you a little more about me as we go through here. My office hours, very important. Those are the hours I've committed to try to be in the office. However, much like any other state-run business, we have a lot of meetings, and so there may be times I am not in my office due to a meeting or something else. I try to put a sticky note on the door, so if you're trying to find me physically. But the best way to find me, send me an email and say, hey, 11:15 on Tuesday, can I meet with you? And I will immediately put it in my calendar if I'm available, or we'll find an alternative, or we'll do online, whatever it takes for us to put that session together. So I give you a couple of phone numbers, and I will say that we have upgraded our phone system. It's great. If you leave a voicemail on there now, I actually get it to my email. Still, I'm going to say that the second number might be a better way to get a hold of me, because if you're used to texting, which most of you probably are, you can even text to that 402-957-1320. It sends me an email, but it's called what's called a Google Voice number, and we'll talk about those eventually. It's a pretty handy way to deal with life. So, you found us, everybody's here. In fact, I think this is the first time that I've had everybody here on time first day. We'll reward you for that somehow. There's a textbook, but the Cengage Unlimited is probably the best way to do it. I know I have seen several of your faces in other courses. Cengage Unlimited is like Netflix for your textbooks. As long as they're Cengage, you can get as many of them as you need. We're going to use this one. It's $119. It's actually cheaper than the book, weirdly. So we're also going to do a ton of stuff on their online site called MindTap. So make sure you get that. If you are a person that needs a tactile book, I am a tactile person. Oh, sorry, got really loud there. I am a tactile person. I need a book in front of me. I can read online, but it doesn't seem to absorb into my brain. You can rent a textbook from Cengage Unlimited then. So once you've bought the book for $119, I think it's $7.99 actually, or maybe a little up from that. You rent the book and you have a physical copy of the textbook for the semester. This is a note. You have to have Cengage Unlimited to pass the class. There is a short trial version. So right now, if you go in there, you're on the trial version, most of you. You need to get it as soon as possible, because we're going to march on. And we don't want to leave you behind. That would be sad. That applies to everybody online on campus. You need that Cengage Unlimited account. So, when I look at things that we're going to do in here, we're going to look at something called a reference model, the OSI reference model. So we talk a lot about networking, and that's really the structure that builds the things like the internet, that builds all of our financial structures. So we're going to kind of get down in the weeds in this class. This is probably our most technical class we have. We're going to get down and understand how things work at a very low level. Well, this OSI reference model is one of our keys that we're going to look at. We're going to talk about different various mediums, different types of way we send signal. So we can send wirelessly, we can send over wires, we can send over fiber optics, we can send over what's called free space optics. So there's a lot of different ways we can send it. We're going to talk about direct connections, virtual networks. We're going to talk about basic security. We're going to talk about how to build a local area network, something like here in this campus. We're going to talk about troubleshooting. How do I fix it? How do I be that office hero? So even if you're not that person that's in charge of the entire company network, can you be the hero because you notice that a cable's unplugged? Yeah. Or you know how to operate. So you may be in a small company. You may outsource IT support. There's still got to be enough understanding that you tell them what's wrong, or they're going to spend a lot of your money trying to identify very basic, in some case, problems. So that's kind of our goals. That's where we're going to head to. I tell you about some of the things we're going to do. So I'm going to include lectures from publishers, lectures from me, lectures from everybody. I'm going to talk about attendance and participation. The more you're here, the better it is. If you're online, make sure you watch those. When I put out a video and I see 3 people watch it out of 30 students, that makes me both sad inside, and it's not really conducive to getting that understanding, that learning, and figuring out how you can do that. So, I also am going to say that in a lot of cases, you're not the only one with a question. So I'm going to have an instructor's corner up there. Post in that. If as long as you're not saying, I can't make it to class because I got arrested for something last night, don't post that up there. Do post, hey, I have a question. What we're here for is you guys are able to hopefully get some of this stuff that's tucked away in the crannies of my brain and get it into your brain. And we don't have the matrix-style cord where we can just jack it into the back of your neck and send it in there yet. So, ask questions. Ask me. So, if things change, and I suspect they are, we're going to send things through email. So make sure you check your email at least once a day. If I can't be here, and I suspect there may be an occasion, I have small children, hopefully you've checked your email by noon. So if something changes or we have a change in plan, let me know. I already know of one day that I will not be here in September, that you guys will get to take that day off from being physically here, but we're still going to continue on. So, September 14th, if you write that down, we will not have physical class. Notebooks are good. So, 14th, and I'll remind you again, I've got to go visit a doctor. It'll be great entertainment fun for somebody, but not for me. And they could only schedule it for whatever reason that particular day. So, what other things are we going to do? Ask questions. Other resources. So as you scroll down, you're going to see a lot of stuff in MindTap. You're going to see a lot of stuff in other resources. Go out and find other ones. If you want to do something, I'll tell you what, Google has hundreds and thousands of videos of how to do things. And in some cases, they're accurate. But again, we're going to put that lens on, is this accurate? Is what I'm hearing correct? So, I do not give any direct points for showing up or for attending on Blackboard. I like to think of it as you're getting your money's worth if you're here in class. That's when you get that best opportunity. So you guys in class have an advantage over those students online simply because you get to ask questions. The online students, it's a little more delayed. I can send things. But there's going to be in this class a lot of weekly assignments. This class is going to stress you a little bit. You're going to have some work to do. I will not lie. But it's all doable. You're also going to have some exams. So each chapter has a little quiz. Not horrible. They're going to not stress you that bad. We will have a finals. And this is correct. So because instead of trying to do a scaled system like Lisa does in her classes, I just said, you know what, let's use the native points in Cengage. Each of your quizzes are 100 points. The final is 500 points. So a lot of the assignments, it just scales everything up. I think if I remember right, there's 6,000 points available in the class. So it sounds like a lot, but it was easier than trying to go through the scaled thing because it never seems to work just quite right for me when I do it. So Lisa has apparently more patience than I do in that regard. So there will nearly always be a discussion board. So sometimes in here in class, if we can discuss it in class rationally and you participate, and I hear your voices and aha, we will do some other things to get those points other than you have to post in the discussion board. Sometimes I just say, hey, this is a great spot. Let's talk about it in class. Give you a few minutes. We can think about how we do it. So the discussion boards apply to both online and on-campus students. So I had a student last year, and we had discussion boards, some assignments through there. And at the end of this, well, I didn't think those were applied to me. Oh, everybody should do those. That's why they're in there. That's why they're in the syllabus. So what is new? So we have some new notes about sicknesses. All of us are really aware, and you're probably tired of hearing about it. But if you have something COVID-related, email me. Let's figure it out. If you have a potential exposure, I can refer you to the appropriate response people. If you are quarantined, let me know, and I can figure out how we can work around your schedule. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anybody, but I'm being a realist. Most colleges that have went back to school are experiencing about an 8% positive rate of students when they test them. So it's out there. And it in the right groups. So I will say for most college students, you're probably healthy. You have less chance of getting really, really sick than the larger group and all. However, those people you interact with, those old professors, or those people taking drugs like I do to suppress their immune system, we're a little more susceptible. So just be careful out there. No great giant parties. So 90, 80, 70 grade scale. Generally, you should be able to get everything you need out of the grade book at any time. Because we pass grades through Cengage to Blackboard, there tends to be, in the middle of the semester, some student will have a hiccup. I guarantee it will be somebody will have some hiccup with Cengage. Don't panic. We can fix it. Okay? So if all of a sudden all your grades in Blackboard show zeros, but you can show me, hey, I know I did those in Cengage. Now, do not be the guy like last year who said, oh, I did all those. And I logged into Cengage and he hadn't even bought an account yet. No, you didn't do them. So you'll get out of this class, and much like any class, exactly how much you put into it. So we'll be there. So we're going to use Bobcat 360 a lot more often this year, apparently. So we're going to do some of these attendance functions through there. So don't be alarmed. It's not necessarily you're failing out of a class, but it is being used a lot more interactively to try to keep everybody on top of things. Grade appeal policy. So should you decide that I treated you unfairly, so I said anybody over 6 foot tall is going to fail this class. That's my cutoff line. That would be an unfair method to grade, and that would be a grade appeal policy. If you don't do the work, that's not really grade appealable. So just if you're curious about it, read the policy. It's kind of always interesting to see where that lands. Towards the end of the semester, and I do not know exactly when, we're going to give out course evaluations that you get to feedback. I get information about them. How can I do things better the next time? I also sometimes will just ask you, if there's something you think, hey, you could do this better because you could do X, Y, Z, let me know. I'm not, you can insult me and say I'm the worst person ever. I'm going to take that as, hey, what can I do different? I will take that criticism. So, and I usually have a roast your instructor discussion board, and I've gotten some interesting ideas for that. Sometimes we can't always do them, but I'm willing to try anything to get your brains working. So, the disability services again this year, because of COVID, they're also handling, if you have anything related to COVID that is also a disability issue. So, for example, if you have asthma and wearing a mask triggers your asthma attacks and you need some kind of exemption or some way around that or some assistance, they're also a resource for that. If you test positive, they're also a resource you can go through in terms of how do we rearrange your classes. If you have any other kind of disability or an accommodation need, contact them. They actually work really well with a lot of our students and trying to assess and figure out where we can, what resources and what things we have available. With that said, we also offer tutoring. Don't be afraid to ask for a tutor. If you're struggling, it's a far greater sign of a person that they're willing to work on it rather than ignore it and try to do it on their own. Tutoring is not a mark of, hey, I wasn't that smart. It's really a smart person who goes to that and tries to get that. There are things all of us are going to encounter that we just go, man, I just cannot figure out how to do that. There are things in your brain. I cannot recite the alphabet without going through the whole thing. Guaranteed. And so, somebody says, what's the letter after N? A, B, C, D. Oh, finally you'll get there, right? All of us have these internal things that will drive us crazy. It's not an indicator on you. Academic integrity policy. Oh, we're going to teach you how to cheat better in this class and the cyber class. You're going to learn a few things. Just don't cheat. Do your own work. If you're copying answers from somebody else or stealing them off the web, you're not doing yourself any great service, because this information that you're grabbing may well be the stuff that you actually need some point, and you won't have it. In addition, those students who work their butt off to get that degree, they should be mad as heck about somebody who cheats, because you both got the same degree, and that person that cheated then devalues that degree for all of us. Equal opportunity notice. Again, even though we talk about it in the Great Appeal, we also very much on our campus are trying to become as equal opportunity as possible. We're not there yet. And I think in our local towns, you guys probably, some of you have experienced it a little more. So I wish Michael were in class. I could pick on him a little better on this one. But I'm going to guess that if you are not a white male in this area, you have experienced some weird ethnic and racial prejudice. Probably? No? I don't. You don't care? Good man. Be above it. So if you see something, though, so sometimes we have issues and we don't know about it unless somebody comes to us. And I actually had a student a couple years ago, and they were actually walking across to the AWAC building, and a truckload of people came driving by from in the area, and they started screaming the most vile, horrible, obscene things you could possibly imagine. If we don't know about it, we can't try to fix it. Now, those guys there probably wasn't any way fixing. They're small-minded idiots, for lack of a better word. But if we don't know about it, or if we do something really, really dumb that, if whatever, so there are terms and cultures that are different for other cultures. So my daughter-in-law is a member of an Indian tribe, a Native American tribe. And we just had a discussion not too long ago about some of the terms, redskins and some of these others, how that affects them. And it's growing up, I didn't realize some of that. And so now trying to be a little more sensitive and see how those issues can affect us. So, if you have an issue or it comes up, there is a person on our campus appointed, Yolanda Cade. Please contact them. We want to be the best campus we can be. We want to be the best community we can be. We're not there yet. My girls go down. Well, let me ask. Nobody in here is from Fall City, right? All right, good. Has anybody heard of Fall City? No. They go to a school in a small town, and it's already been interesting, the things that they've heard, and they're in 4th and 5th grade. And so we want to be aware, and we want to make the world a better place for all of us. So if you see something, let us know. Below is finally this horrible thing called a schedule. Ooh, little scroll. I haven't made it mad by putting the cursor in a weird place. So this is where you'll see all of these assignments and things are 100 points. So it looks like there's a ton of points in this class, and there are. It doesn't really material affect anything. If they were 6 points or 100 points, it's the same percentage across there. So it just was easier not to fight with Cengage as many things as I want to put in there. So you'll notice we do a couple of things. So week 1 and 2, we kind of combined the end dates, partly because I know people are just getting used to the campus. Some of them haven't got Cengage bought. And if the trial runs out and they still haven't got it bought by the end of that first week, I know we've had some people trying to get things purchased. It just makes life a little better to put those 2 weeks together. So your first assignments then really aren't due until 8:30. Does that mean you should wait until 8:30 to work on them? No, because you're going to be sad. But those are some of the things we're going to do. We're going to introduce you to networking, network models, client server, OSI reference model. So in fact, it would be really good for Wednesday if you guys had the first half of chapter 1 read. That way we're all talking about the same thing. So if I start telling you something, you're not looking at me like, what? Is that a term? No. It is also really handy, I will say, from a brain standpoint, bring a notebook and a pen and pencil. Even if you do things like screenshots, when you write, and research has proven this over and over again, when you write something down, it imprints it in your brain differently. And it really is a great way to put stuff into your brain so that it doesn't fall apart. So that's our schedule, that's our syllabus. And so you'll also see down here at the bottom how many hours we expect you to work. I expect that you're going to be around that 135 hour mark. If this is something, at some point we're going to do something with binary math. That may be something that causes you to struggle. You may take more time on that. On the other hand, there may be something that takes less time because you've already had that idea. If you've already taken cybersecurity, we get to some security pieces, that may seem like, oh man, I've seen this before. So, this is what we anticipate on average a course is going to take for the average student. We all know averages can be really diluting. So, I have 2 buckets of water. I have one that's ice water and one that's boiling. If I stand with 1 foot in each bucket, on average, I'm comfortable, right? Averages can really be diluting. So, if you spend more than 135 hours in the class, that's not a bad thing. If you spend less than that, that means I didn't push you hard enough. I got to do some more work. But on average, that's what that's what we expect to get that. And that's kind of a national standard where we come from on that. So we're going to go ahead and start with a couple of things in here. Look at my time. All right. So week 1 and week 2, and you'll see when you open that up that there is a ton of material in there. And you're going to go, oh my goodness. So some of these, when you go through there, are really just explaining, and they're little short 2-minute videos. So it looks like a lot of stuff. But it won't take you as long as you think. They're not 30-minute videos in there for the most part. And I put in things like reviews. There's these practice terms. There's some videos on, we're going to do a couple of simulation things. And I don't want to overload your brain yet, but we have both simulations and what they call live virtual labs. And we'll explain the difference between the two of them. But there's multiple different ways we're going to do things. There's even some of these to test your knowledge. We have crossword puzzles in there. So the question is, are all those graded? No. The simulations are graded. The live virtual labs are graded. The assignments are graded. A lot of these things are not. So you can actually really quickly look at it and say, all right, it's not. Does that mean I don't want to do them? Well, no. But they don't actually give you a grade point. So this one, Lab 1-1, graded. Lab Simulation 1-2, graded. Now, the good thing about these, the lab simulations here, or lab simulations, you can do unlimited numbers of times. You can do them 100 times to get the best grade possible. They even have like show me features. The grades on those should be really good. The live labs, so Lab 1-1, these in some ways are a little tougher. You're actually running a computer remotely. But the way I have got those set up, when you get to the end and you've successfully completed it, you get a 100% grade in that. So again, I want everybody to start out great. You have to work your way down to a bad grade in this class. So there's a lot of those little videos, and that will consume some of your week, and we're not going to spend time in here doing that. There is a quiz. So Unit 1 quiz, that is that 100-point quiz for that particular chapter. So you don't want to clip onto that necessarily early. I will also put in, so notice this, because it's a combined week, it scrolls on forever, it seems like. So we will also do some things in here that we'll try to show people online because it's a little easier. We're going to do as much hands-on stuff as we can. I used to make students do a lot more hands-on things, and then we ran into a little problem. And that problem is, how many of you have Macs in here already? Just a couple. How many of you have a Chromebook? Yeah. So I started seeing lots of Chromebooks, lots of Macs. The Macs I can work around and find ways. The Chromebooks are a little tougher. And then I even had students, especially online, who were using their office computer. And they weren't able to make some of these administrative changes. So I've tried to put everything I can in a simulated manner. Here you guys get the advantage in being live. On campus, we can do some hands-on things. It makes life a little easier or more torturous, depending on how you want to look at it for each of you. So this week,